Hi, today we are making seeded crackers and they're really healthy for you. They're full of anti-inflammatory properties and really delicious. I've gotten a lot of great raving reviews about these crackers. So what's in these crackers? They're really simple. So there's raw sunflower seeds, whole flax seeds, sprouted organic pumpkin seeds, whole grain millet, also rosemary leaves, sesame seeds. You're going to need a lot of these. And something called psyllium husk powder, coarse sea salt. We use regular salt inside the cracker and some water. So we'll start out with the raw sunflower seeds, and we'll do 1.5 cups of these. 1/2 cup of the pumpkin seeds. I don't like the stuff that's in the bottom, the salt that settles out, so I just kind of put it in a little colander and take it out.
Look at all that salt.
So we need basically 1/2 cup of pumpkin seeds. Then we use 1 cup of sesame seeds, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of dried rosemary or an herb of your choice. I am going to put rosemary in, and I actually add a little bit more than 1 teaspoon. Next, I add 3 tablespoons of millet, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of psyllium husk. And this again is the binder for the cracker. It holds everything all together. Some recipes call for egg white. I don't use that. 1/3 cup of flax seeds. 1/3 cup. So next we add 2 1/4 cups of cold water is fine. Before I add that, I am going to give this a good stir. So stir everything together and just keep kind of combining it all. So now that you've got that all stirred together, we're going to pour the water in, and then I need to measure another 1/4 cup. Sometimes I cut back on the water a little bit because once we bake these crackers, we really need them to be very dry. But I added a little bit of extra seeds here, so I'll do the whole 1/4 cup for the rest of it. And then just give it a stir. It's going to look soupy. It's going to look like, oh my gosh, how is this ever going to come together? But you'll see in 20 minutes, it comes together and forms what we call like a seed dough, which is sort of kind of like a slimy dough, but it comes together, and then we'll spread it out on a cookie sheet with parchment paper. Okay, so after 20 minutes, this is what it looks like. You can see it's absorbed a lot of the water. It's kind of like thick, and then just give it a really good stir. The sesame seeds tend to float to the top or somewhat clump together. It feels like almost a loose dough, almost like oatmeal. Okay, so you can see how it's a little bit loose, but it stays together. So then I've prepared 2 cookie sheets, and I use quite large cookie sheets, and I put parchment paper on them. So here's a little bit smaller one. Here's my larger cookie sheet. You can see the size. I think that's called a 1/2 sheet. So we'll start out with that one, and then we'll go to the smaller one. So what you want to do is just layer this on. And I just kind of like pour it on there, sort of guessing how much it's going to spread. And we want these crackers to be fairly thin. We're going to start spreading with you have a rubber spatula like this, the best thing. And then just keep spreading it to the edges. We're going to go right to the edges. And we want to get it really nice and thin. So just kind of keep pushing and spreading so that you get it to go to the edges and a nice uniform layer so that it's not too thick in any one spot. Like down here, it's kind of thin, so I'm going to pull some of this forward and move it down here. Turn the pan a little bit, go this way, move some of this away from the edge, and move it down. Okay, this one. So I've got a little extra here. I'm going to move it back this way. But you want to go right into the corner. Take your spatula, go along the edge, and smooth it out. You want your crackers to be even and to bake evenly because of the liquid that's in these crackers. And so we're going to bake these for a total of an hour, divided up. So after about 30 minutes, we're going to take them out of the oven and score them. So to be the size of the cracker piece that we want. I usually do like maybe an inch and a half. So it's a nice bite-sized cracker. And then we put them in the oven for another 30 minutes and then flip them over to dry them out more. And before they go in the oven, we sprinkle them with coarse sea salt. Here's the coarse sea salt. Sprinkle it on, remember there's already salt in here, so this is really just for the cracker top to have a little bit of extra, little punch of salt, but not overwhelming. The higher you hold your hand, the easier it is to just kind of get a good general sprinkle on the crackers. And then these are going to go in the oven. Okay, so after 30 minutes, this is what they look like. So what you're going to do is score these. So I start out in the middle of the pan and I use a pizza cutter when I can't get to the edges. So once you've got these cut, we haven't cut into the edges yet, so I use a knife and just kind of cut along where my lines are and get to the edge, because you want to get this these cut before they're done. Okay, so this is going to go back in the oven. Okay, so when the crackers are done on their second 30 minutes, then what we're going to do is take them and lift them, and you can see they're pretty much done. However, they're still moist. They're still a little moist. They're not totally crisp yet. So what we're going to do is kind of split this in half, and we're going to flip these crackers over and rebake them until they dry out. That could be 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It really varies, but we're just going to flip them over and I'm going to separate them apart. You can see some of them are already dry enough to break apart like this, but they're really truly not dried out yet. Okay, so after we have them all flipped over, you can see some might be a little bit thinner, some are a little bit thicker, and they're actually a little bit soft, so we really need to dry these out. So they're going to go back in the oven to dry them out, and we'll do like 5 minutes at a time. You got to watch them because they can burn.